Assalamu alaikum, Haru Nefer, Hatepu, Namaste. This is Kasank Keparu with another video for you. And today I want to talk to you about how to contact your alternate self, or the alternate version of yourself. All right, but before I do that, I want you to hit the like button here at the bottom and subscribe to my channel if this is your first time watching, and share this video so we can get the revolution started. Now, you know, we've talked a lot about the past and, past lives and accessing those past lives to use the information to help you live a more conducive life in this lifetime. But there's another level to this that you should be aware of. As you know from a previous video that I did, I talked about the multiverse, that there are infinite number of parallel worlds that you exist in. So there's an infinite number of you existing in different parallel worlds going through different trials and tribulations or different scenarios. Some of those scenarios or situations are not too far off from what you're experiencing now. Some of them are totally different, radically different, where you could be a trillionaire, you know what I mean? But what we want to do is we want to try and access those alternate versions of ourselves in those alternate realities to gain a little bit of wisdom and knowledge and to help us in this life, this world. Now, sometimes I refer to this as Earth Prime, or this is where you originate from, but it's not really, because merely your focus is here, but you exist everywhere. You're a multidimensional being. So if you want some more information on that, reference my previous video, You're a Multidimensional Being, okay? But I'm going to give you a technique here that will allow you to access that knowledge that you are experiencing in those other different planes, and to use that knowledge for your betterment today. It's not an easy technique, but it's definitely well worth it. Now, why would we want to do this? Well, because there are certain things we may be going through. We may have started a job and we're not really sure, how things work, or maybe we've entered a new field, or we're looking to build a business and want to know how to make it profitable, or we're looking to improve our relationships, or we're looking to find a mate. There are versions of you who have already done these things, conquered these things, mastered these things, and moved on. That's what you want to contact, those versions that have done it before, and gain access to that knowledge so that you can master it here in this time-space continuum. Now, with that said, let me emphasize this. All of those things that are happening, all of those versions of you going through those situations, are happening in the same space-time continuum right here, because everything is operating simultaneously, okay? Because the only thing that exists is the now moment, and you are merely shifting every microsecond through different universes. You're shifting. But here's the key to understand. I need you to understand this. You may not be shifting enough to get to a universe where you want to be. In other words, if you're looking to attract wealth, well, you can do that by vibrating to that parallel world where the wealth is there and for you. But because you're not operating on that frequency, and because it's a really large quantum leap for you to go from this world to that world where you have the abundance of wealth, it's going to take several micro jumps, a lot of micro jumps, in fact. Or if you have a radical change in belief, then you can get there right away. All right, it'll be a quick quantum leap. But if not, you can now access the information from that parallel version of you, so that you can now, in this time and now, experience the things that you want. All right. And to better illustrate how this works, and this is something that the New Age community is going to be getting into, because we talk so much about accessing the Akashic records, the emerald tablets of Thoth or Tahuti, but we don't get into communicating with the alternate versions of ourselves, the parallel versions of ourselves, to get information and wisdom and knowledge. So this is something that's going to be, you'll be hearing more about this, and it'll be the next kind of big thing coming out there. Because for some people, it's very difficult for them to shift to a parallel universe where the things they want are there. It's for some reason they may have beliefs. They don't feel entitled to it. Those beliefs create blockages, and therefore they only do these micro jumps. They don't do the large jumps to take them where they need to go. All right. So one of the things that, and I'm going to illustrate with this story, one of the things that happened to me was I went somewhere once, and I'm not going to get into the details of it. And when I was there, everything was familiar to me. And it was just really uncanny. And because I'm an empath, I can touch things and feel it. So I was going around looking at things, touching things, and getting these pictures, these visions. And it was so like compelling and rich. And I said, I wonder what's going on. So I thought maybe I had been there in a past life. But the visions I were getting was of modern day. So modern cars, modern planes. So I said, it could have been a past life. So I went to the Oracle, which is what you always should do, and I asked the Oracle, I said, was I here in the past life? And the Oracle was like, nope, you weren't there in the past life. So I was perplexed. I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? Why is all of this so darn familiar? So it went on for months, and every now and then, periodically, I would revisit the place, and same feelings, same strong emotions would crop up. Then I started having dreams about the place. Then I knew something was up. So I said, I've got to get to the bottom of this. So then it dawned on me once. I said, let me ask the Oracle this. I said, am I accessing a parallel version of myself that is existing in this place at this same time? Which is why I feel so strongly about this environment. And the Oracle was like, yes, you got it. And I was like, whoa, okay, now we're talking. So at that point, then I started doing meditations to try and contact that alternate person, that alternate me in that parallel world. Because up until that point, I was merely getting images and visions of the surroundings, the environment, but I hadn't really contacted my person. You understand? So the meditation started to bring more insight, more visions and things, and I really felt at home at this place. It was like coming home. And I said, there's something here that I have to come back for. And I would go back and I would sit there and I would meditate, and I began to get downloaded with information. And it was wonderful. And then also when I started meeting people there, everybody was very friendly to me, like they knew me. And I'm like, yeah, something's here. Something is here. So with that understanding of that situation, here's what you have to be aware of. The places that you are at now already have a version of you interacting with people, objects, and things of that nature. And sometimes the alternate parallel world that the other you exists in may not be radically different from this world at all. It may not be radically different. It may be only a slight difference where you turn left one day, but your alternate self turned right. That may be the only difference. That's how it works, because Netter, God, Source, Yahweh, wants to experience every scenario, an infinite number of scenarios, okay? One where you may have a knot on top of your head. And that's the only difference in that world, is you have a knot on top of your head, okay? So think about that. The next time that you're at some place or you're doing something and you start to feel familiar, if you get a new job and the job just comes easy to you, the information that the job comes easy, and you have a really, you have an aptitude for doing it, or certain things remind you of things, and maybe, you get like a deja vu, start thinking of that, because we're not trained to start looking at the parallel versions of ourselves and what they're going through. We're only trained to start looking at, past life, or maybe the future, which doesn't really exist, but that's the only thing that we really think about. We don't take into consideration there are these alternate versions of ourselves going through their own experiences. And with some training and skill, you can start communicating with them. For a long time, I was involved where I was trying to communicate with my future self and get information. But when this happened, it was startling and shocking. So I started focusing on this, because I said, I guess maybe that alternate version of me is reaching out to me and then wants to form some type of communication so we can exchange information. So I said, I've got to stop thinking about the future and start talking or communicating with my alternate self in the here and now. And that's when the information started to come. Now, here's the technique that you want to keep in mind. This technique is not necessarily for communicating with the alternate aspect of yourself. It can be communicating with the Tahuti or wisdom aspect of yourself. But the first thing is, the prerequisite to this is that you have to have that feeling or that emotion of familiarity with a certain environment, place, or thing. And if that is coming to you, then you should try and go back there, be there, and do a meditation. And in that meditation, try and access images, pictures. What really when you do is you want to transfer your consciousness into that dimension, that alternate side of you, alternate version of you, that world, and observe. Just observe. You may even observe yourself. In fact, there was one version of me that was very wealthy, and it looked like he was working at a construction site, actually. It's funny I mentioned that. I was using that as a hypothetical. But, and I remember him looking out at the workers, and he was wealthy, and I was trying to get his attention and talk to him, but he refused to acknowledge me. Now, I don't know if that was purpose or he just didn't know I was there, because I was in a form of consciousness, which is your true form. You are consciousness, which is why you see the all-seeing eye of Osir, because that is the symbolism of your true state, okay? And consciousness is devoid of energy matter, okay? It is immaterial. So I never was able to get that version's attention to open communication to find out how he or she made, how he made his wealth. But one thing you have to realize, and I have to state this as a disclaimer, even if that version of myself were to give me his secret to making the millions that he made, that may not work in this world. You know, I may take that information and knowledge and try to apply it and lose a lot of money because circumstances are different. I don't know how close that parallel world is to this world. Is it the same stock market? Does the construction business work the same? You know, I don't know. But this is why you've got to kind of observe first and then keep returning back and back to gain knowledge and wisdom, and eventually open up that dialogue with your alternate self. It may communicate with you, it may not, but still try this technique. Now, this technique was used by, I believe, Thomas Edison or Einstein, I believe. I'll have to verify that. But what it does is it involves you going to that environment or like location, sitting down, meditating, right? Now, what I think Edison did was he took these iron balls and he put it in his hand, and he would sit in a chair and he would just meditate for many hours, and his hand would be over a bowl. So when he was meditating to the point of falling asleep, his hand would open, releasing the metal balls, and they would fall into the bowl and make a clanking sound and wake him up. And therefore he would repeat the exercise again. Now, what does that do? That creates the in-between state that you want. It's not the awake state, it's not the dream state, but it's that beautiful twilight in-between state. And that in-between state is the gateway to parallel worlds, or it can be the gateway to accessing the Akashic records or information, either one. So what he would do is he would focus on a problem that he was trying to solve. He would think about it and just sit there and think about it. And basically, he would pose the question and then clear his mind in the meditative state. This is the Amen meditation, meaning the peace meditation. And then as he was about to fall asleep, his arms would release the balls would hit the bowl and wake him up, keep him from falling asleep. And then upon awakening, he would have that eureka moment, or the answer would come to him. So I want you to try that. And I do it often when I'm traveling through those parallel worlds, where I'll sit, I'll close my eyes, I will meditate, and I don't need to work on the balls because I know how to pull myself out before falling asleep. So as soon as I get into the in-between state, I do the observation, I try to communicate with my alternate self, and then I'll come back and awake, and then I will have some insight. And that's a great way to solve problems in your life. That's a great way to just heal yourself. If you've gone through any trauma or tragedy, contact the alternate version of yourself that has gone through that and survived, and then ask them, what did you do to overcome this? And if they don't communicate with you, simply by observing what's going on, you should be able to pick up the minutiae, the minute details of what happened and what's going on and how that person was able to master the situation and overcome. So that is the technique, and it's very therapeutic. It's very healing. It is a very peaceful meditation. It also brings you wisdom and knowledge. And also, one of the best things that it can do for you is you will get a peek into alternate worlds, and it's phenomenal what you'll see. And the one thing that I remember, I recall from visiting all of these different worlds, is that everyone I went to felt like it was home. There was nothing alien or frightening about it. It was always, I was comfortable there. And I knew it. I said, I've been here before. And that's always it kept saying to me, no matter how different it was. I always kept saying, wow, this is really different, but I've been here before. And that's the thing that you'll always carry with you, because all of those versions, the infinite number of versions you are experiencing at now, this moment in time, quickly, because you're continually shifting to parallel worlds, all right? So keep that in mind. It's a beautiful thing to experience if you can get into that state. If you have any questions, by all means, email me or write it in the description box, and I can definitely help you and guide you to achieving that state to where you can travel. Some people call it the astral project, whatever term you want to use. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and please be sure to support us on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1 a month or $5 a month, and you'll get exclusive videos. Also, if you're inclined to donate through PayPal, there's a PayPal link there, and there are also some links to free ebooks. The Osiris Report is one of the most popular. You can click on that and download that today, and it really gets into some deep stuff. So until my next video, this is Kasank Ma Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Amen Ra.